Alright, everyone. I'm here to give you my another Walking Dead review. And this one's Season 4, Episode 13, and it's called Alone. Um, and it came out on March 9th, 2014. And I'm really getting down to Season 5. I got 3 more episodes to watch, and then I should be done with Season 4. So this episode starts off um, with Bob by himself. It shows what he's been doing, how he's been walking around. He just sits there. He even found like a little place he could go in. And when the walkers tried to get at him, they were stuck. He was eating frozen yogurt. He slept on like top of a truck. He was pretty much by himself. And then it shows Daryl and Glenn. And they pick him up. They ask if there's anybody else. And he says no. And they ask him those 3 questions: how many walkers have you killed? And he says, I lost count, but I think about a little over a dozen. They ask if he's killed anybody, and he says yes. And they ask him why, and he says because she wanted me to. So I wonder if we're gonna find out what happened with this in the future. And then he asked if he can come, what his group was like. He doesn't care what it's like. He just wants to go with them. And then they take him in, and then it cut to the theme song. So I thought this was a nice start. We got to see what Bob was doing. Well, we knew he was alone, but we actually got to see it this time, which I thought was awesome. So then it's in the fog, and now that it's back to the present. That was a flashback. Now it's the present. He's with Bob, Sasha, and Maggie, and there's a fog outside. Now I'm gonna actually get to why I think this is kind of dumb. So there's a fog, and they have to kill off walkers, which they do, and Bob gets bit. And Maggie almost gets bit, but Sasha takes care of both of them. And Bob's fine, though, because because he got a cut before, from when he got shot, and they bit his bandages, so they didn't bite anything major or anything. So I guess he's all good. He's gonna be fine. Then it cuts to Daryl and Beth. I thought this was kind of strange because there was no fog when we showed them. So I wonder if some of this, like, they could have been in a different part of town, but I don't know. But he's teaching her how to use the crossbow, and she finds a walker, and she's getting ready to finally learn how to shoot it. And she gets caught in, I think, a trap. Like a kind of a bear trap kind of thing. And she shoots the crossbow, but the guy doesn't budge. She doesn't get him. So Dale takes it, hits her with it, gets her out of the trap, so her ankles really hurt. So they have to go find a new spot. And what happens next? Maggie, Bob, and Maggie wants to leave, but because of the fog, they couldn't leave, so they stayed there. And then it shows them walking on the train tracks, and they find that town that everybody else has been finding. It's called Terminus. I knew it was before, but I forgot to say the name. And she wants to go there because she thinks Glenn might have gone there. But Sasha doesn't want to do it. She thinks it's pointless. Glenn could possibly be dead. And Bob thinks Bob's with Maggie here, and they don't want anyone getting separated, so they do go off. So they're gonna go find this town, and I wonder what this town's gonna be like. I can't wait to see it. Then, since Beth can't walk, Daryl has to get on it. Daryl gives her a piggyback ride. And they find and they're at a graveyard, and they put a flower on one of the graves, and they go inside the house, and they see all this stuff, like people are decorating the walkers, and he's like, man, people are testing these dolls. People really want young dogs to dress up. And he's going to treat a rune. And then Beth thinks that this is awesome because they believe that these people are still people, that this person hasn't changed from this world, that they believe, they have some faith. And she thinks it's beautiful. And Beth's like, don't you think it's beautiful? And Dale doesn't answer. He just says, let's treat your wound. So he doesn't really give an answer. And then the next night, Bob and Sasha are going to bed. And Sasha doesn't want to do this anymore. She doesn't really see the point of doing this because we're all going to die anyway. That fog was just a warning. You and I could go together, get a building, and we could live our lives together. We don't have to follow this town anymore. But Bob doesn't want to do that. He thinks that she's just afraid that Tyrese is no longer alive anymore. And she doesn't want to admit that to herself. She's afraid of finding that out. And then the next morning when they wake up, we see that Maggie wrote something in the ground saying, don't risk your lives for me. Good luck. So she doesn't want him to follow him. But Bob still wants to follow her. Bob goes out there, but Sasha's like, hey, she said she didn't want us to risk our lives. This is an opportunity. Let's go do something else. And Bob doesn't want to go for that. Oh, and my sister's being kind of And what happens next? Dale and Beth find food, and they find like peanut butter and jelly, pig's feet, soda, and the weirdest part about it was all fresh. There wasn't any dust on it. It was like somebody had been there already. So they weren't going to take the whole thing. So I thought that was interesting. And later on, Beth is playing the piano, singing a song. Dale catches him, and he sleeps inside the casket because this is like a funeral home, where they decorate the bodies and stuff. And he's like, "This is the most comfortable bed I've had in years." And he has her sing the song, continue to sing it, and yeah, she continues. Then what happens is Maggie kills a walker, and she continues to look for this place, and she cuts open the walker, and when Bob and Sasha walk by, she sees that there's stuff that she's writing messages to Glenn telling her that she's going to Terminus. I don't know how to say the word. So I think that's interesting. And Sasha doesn't believe in any of this stuff. She believes, and she's even asking Bob, why are you so happy? And he's happy because he's not alone anymore. Because he always was alone, and he always felt like that if he worried about the bad stuff would happen. But now he's happy. He's happy. He's not by himself anymore. But he thinks that Sasha's afraid to find out whether or not Tyrese is alive or not. And she doesn't want to admit that. And she even finds a building and say, we can go live there. We can go start our new lives there. Plant a garden, all that stuff. And we don't need to worry about anybody else. But Bob doesn't do it. He tries to talk her into it, but he can't. And he kisses her and leaves. He's gonna go find Maggie. And Sasha goes to live in the building. Now, before I talk about what happens next, I want to talk about what happens with Dale and Beth. So they're eating, and they found this dog earlier, and they heard it, but then when they hear it again, they're going to let him in, and it actually ends up being walkers. So he tells Beth to leave, and he fights them off. He actually puts a stretcher, in front of him and corners himself so he can kill them all himself, and crawls under them, which was awesome. And he continues to kill them, and then eventually he runs out I believe he crawls out the window or something. But Beth takes the car and drives away, and he tries to catch up to her but fails, and he gets too tired, so he sits down by himself. And then what happens with Sasha is she knocks the window out. So that allows walkers to come in, and we see that Maggie was laying down. And they fight him off. Maggie uses a street sign to fight him off, which was funny. And Maggie says, I ran out of walker parts. And she says that she still has faith, that she believes Sasha's won. And I did say you don't have to risk your lives for me, but you do, because it's more than just Glenn's life. For Glenn, it's for somebody else. And then Daryl meets this new group now. And they seem like at first that they were villains, but they seem, I don't really know what they're like right now, but one of them wants his crossbow, talks about how his crossbow's all good and stuff, and Dale pointed at him, even punched this guy in the face, and says, it would be suicide if you shot me right now, because all of them had guns, and they were pointing at him, and because we'd all drop you afterwards. And then he asks what his name is, and he says Dale, and he backs off, he puts the thing down, he puts his crossbow down, so I don't know what's going to happen with this. And then Bob meets back up with Sasha and Maggie, and it's all a feel-good moment. And then I think Glenn, it ends with Glenn seeing the sign with the terminus. He sees the new town, and that's how the episode ended. So overall, I thought this was a good episode. I liked what they did with Bob and Sasha, how Sasha didn't believe that there was any more good could come from this world, but Bob still had faith in Maggie. I liked Dale and Beth. It seemed like they were teasing that they were going to have a relationship like they had been with Carol. So let's see. I can't wait to see what happens the next episode. Let's see what happens.